My guest today is Sherille Marquez. She is, that's the best way to put this, someone who is an immigrant to the US, has created a new life for herself, had some family relationship chains to break through, but has reinvented herself. And I'm interested to explore her journey and have this conversation because relationships are one of the 12 chains that I talk about. So to hear Sherille's story, her journey, and to understand the challenges that she went through, how she's reinvented herself and almost created a completely new life, I think that's something that a lot of people can resonate with. We find times in our life where there are challenges we have to overcome, and if we can work through them, it enables us to recreate, to move forward, to explore new opportunities. Sherille, thank you for joining me today. I've not gone into too much detail there, but if I, that high level, it's like, okay, so moving to a new country, I think you mentioned at sort of age 8,
Yeah.
obviously growing up, starting down one path into a relationship that sadly didn't work, and then reinventing yourself. Just talk me through that process. I love to hear more details. Obviously, I've done that high level,
Absolutely.
but
So that was a great introduction, and I really appreciate that, Philip. We went way back to the fact, yes, I did immigrate here when I was 8 years old from the Philippines. And in fact, it was my brother and sister who flew here with me, and we had just a companion because we didn't have any of our relatives with us during the flight. So, so we get here, and it was a culture shock, just to say the least. I was used to noise. I was used to a lot of family, and it was just my mom, my stepdad, my grandma, who actually didn't even live with us, but she had to sleep with me because I wasn't used to being by myself. I'm pretty sure they gave me NyQuil just to knock me out um, the first couple nights. So it was very interesting growing up and not really knowing the language. That was not English was not my first language, but now it is. Interestingly enough, in the Philippines, they actually learn Tagalog first before English. So that I thought that was fascinating. Um, I'm not gonna drag on my childhood, but I'm gonna fast forward to when I ran away. I ran away when I was 18 years old. And the reason for that is because I had a traditional, strict Filipino mom. And long story short, we just weren't seeing eye to eye. And I had graduated high school already. I killed my high school accomplishments. I was the homecoming queen. I was the prom queen. I was the student body president, the first female student body president in 25 years. Back then, I didn't really, and I made the newspaper. For me, I was just like, oh, I didn't think it was a big deal. But my stepdad, who was my advocate, he passed now, thanks, Dad. He was printing these newspapers, and I'm like, why is he printing these newspapers? What is the big deal? Only until I had the maturity to really wrap my head around how big of an accomplishment someone, a female, voted after 25 years was. I was like, wow, I did that. So those are some of the things that has carried me through in my life, knowing what I was able to accomplish way back in high school. But the thing is, like, Philip, I was doing it unconsciously. I wasn't very conscious of, how and what I was doing in order to be at the right time, at the right place, win stuff all the time. So that's basically who I've always been. I've always been very interested in metaphysics and things of that nature. But let me get back to my story. So I ended up running away from home, and I told myself that whatever I need to do, I'm going to create a better life for myself and for my children in the future. So I never looked back. My mom and I didn't talk for about a year, and life just worked its way out the way that we ended up talking again. And now, many, many years later, after a lot of just learning and growth, we've never been closer. And I'm so grateful for that journey. So that has already started to build up my grit, for lack of better words. So fast forward to fast forward to when my son had cancer. That's the beginning of my journey. So my son, who is now 19, he had cancer when he was 3 years old. It's Wilms tumor. Wilms tumor is a childhood cancerous tumor that happens in the kidney. And what happened was he urinated a blood clot when he was 3. And I'm really good under stressful situations. So I acted quickly. I grabbed the piece of what do you call that, blood clot, basically, that, like that went in the toilet, and I put it in a Ziploc. um, I was able to call the pediatrician 15 minutes before they closed. And so they ran tests, and within a couple days we were at UCLA, which is a really big hospital here. We spent tomorrow actually is the tomorrow is Thanksgiving here, and it's my most favorite holiday because we spent Thanksgiving in the hospital, and all my family and friends brought Thanksgiving to us. So that was a really special time for something that is so painful. So I was able to get some, I guess, comfort in that situation, having my family, my community. We got we got through that. I was also 6 months pregnant at the same time when that happened, so it was a really difficult situation. And just when I think that, okay, you know what, the worst could have happened as a mother, my child being sick with cancer, thankfully he's been in remission now for 16 years. Several years later, my personal transformation began when I discovered that my ex-spouse was having an affair. And I shared this with you, I think, in our emails, but I don't really talk about that because, one, it was something that had to happen the way that it happened. I'm a ride or die. I am the type of person that will go down with the ship when I probably should have jumped. But that one thing, betrayal, is something that I could not go move past, because anything or anyone that is going to take me away from being the best mom that it can be has to go. And I knew that if I had stayed in the relationship, my focus would be elsewhere. Oh, what is he doing? Like, is he being true? And not with my children, which is, that to me, that was the most important job I have in my life, as being a mother. So that being said, um, gosh, that was almost 9 years ago. February this coming year will be 9 years. I spent probably about 5 or 6 years just getting my ass handed to me by life. It's the growth and the expansion. And if you know The Man in the Arena, that poem by Theodore Roosevelt, actually it was a speech. That's my favorite quote of all time, because I am that woman in the arena, with the bruises and the scars and all those things, just not willing to give up. So I was getting the lessons, I was getting the beat down, and still I saw myself as a fighter. I saw myself, okay, at some point, Cheryl, you're gonna come back. And this is every time I got this big, like, hammer to the head lesson, I'm like in round 7, I'm in round 8. Okay, pretty soon you're gonna be like at the 12th round, and you're gonna win, and it's gonna be your comeback. And that time is here. So that time is here, and I have answered my calling. I have always known that my purpose in life is to help others. To what degree? I had no idea. Well, when your purpose becomes bigger than you, it becomes a calling. So my calling that I answered is to help divorced women rediscover the truth of who they are, connect with their authentic selves. Because when you're in a relationship, and I don't know, Philip, if you've been in a long-term relationship, you lose sight of yourself. We have so many different identities. You're a mom, you're a wife, you're a this, you're a that. And so at the end of my marriage, I didn't even know what color paint I liked. I did not know how to decorate my house because I didn't know what I liked. And so I spent a long time feeling so lost, trying to figure out who the heck am I, trying to reinvent myself and, simultaneously hold it down for my children, being a single mom, um, fully providing for them. So it was just all these different moving parts. I turned to three different therapists, and I have therapist friends and they're wonderful. But for me, it just the methodologies of traditional therapy, it didn't work for me. So through self-discovery and trials and also just learning, I developed this system which allows me to help these women truly transform themselves first and foremost, and from there they transform their lives, because truly our outside world is a reflection of our inner world. And so that's where I'm at today. And like I said, when I meet people like you that helps me spread the knowledge and help me make the impact, I'm so grateful. So thank you.
Amazing to hear your journey there. There's so much that I want to unpack. I guess easiest starting point, okay. Relationships, yes, is one of the chains that I talk about in my book and the programs and the work that I do. And the way that I position it is on a scale of 1 to 10, just rate a relationship. If it's 6 or less, it's negative.
You mean with my ex-spouse?
Well, it sounds like yes, that, but potentially the relationship that you had with your mum as well, because you moved away from that.
Oh
So
gosh, yeah.
throughout time, I'm the same. I've had relationships, and some of them business relationships, some of them personal. They've reached a point. It's like, this is not working for me anymore. And I guess you've been through that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to other people who may not have taken a proper look at themselves, the relationships around them, and done that assessment to say, actually, is this serving me? Can I identify that there may be better options, or this is a relationship that's holding me back, dragging me down, making me feel crap, just because based on what I'm hearing, some of the experiences that you've been through in your own life.
That's really a great question, Philip, because honestly, I came into that situation also with, like a group of, I want to say like business relationship, friendship relationships where being an entrepreneur like yourself, it can feel very isolating because we have a different kind of focus. And so I had to learn about this. I did a bunch of, research, and YouTube honestly is my best friend, because when I was going through my own stuff, I'm like, how do you, like stop feeling pain? How do you get out of survival mode? So anyway, these were one of the things, the relationship, like you're saying, that no longer serve you. And what I learned is, well, that I was unconsciously acting on it already, because like I said, if there's something or someone that gets in my way of me being the best mom I can be, it's got to go. So I already had that, but again, unconsciously. So now consciously, I learned that, we could be very sentimental with our relationships. And let's say, for instance, you've been with, your business partner, or you've been with a friend for 2 decades, and you were once close, but at this point in time, it's no longer serving who you are, where you're at, and where you're heading. Well, you cannot be sentimental, because that's just how it is. And also, someone told me that the way to the top of the mountain is lonely, because you can't carry everyone on your back. So unless they're walking alongside you, you got to put them down. And not to say that, like I'm breaking, like I'm like, okay, bye, I'm here, you're there later. No, I'll just, lessen the time that I spend with them, and then I'll have to dip back when there's like events or when we see each other. No hard feelings. It's just different life stages, and it takes some time to truly accept that, shift and transition, when you have a vision that, oh, I'm going to be with this person or this partnership forever and ever and ever. But no, you evolve. And, it's one of these things that I'm discovering as well in my entrepreneurial journey, that, wow, it's like how frequencies are. If you're turned to a radio station and you're not in the same frequency, you cannot hear the music. it's the same exact thing. Like, and you don't have to even lift a finger. Life will just remove you or remove that situation or person from your life without lifting a finger. And that's how it's been in my life. So I trust.
Fantastic. As that actually leads me nicely. You've mentioned you're now focusing on supporting women who are going through divorce and sort of finding themselves, reinventing themselves. That process that you went through yourself, and it sounds like lots of watching YouTube videos and seeking support and a little bit of therapy and things like that. I'm just interested to expand upon that because obviously, yes, identity is a key thing. Some of the other guests that I've spoken to who have had accidents and not been able to carry on doing what it was that they felt that they were meant to do or they were working towards. So, there was a guy who was training for the Navy SEALs and was in a coma and then was discharged, so he couldn't continue that. It's like, okay, he had an identity crisis because he couldn't be the thing that he'd been training so hard to be. So I'm just interested to hear from your perspective, the relationship you mentioned. There was a period of years where you were sort of stuck and you weren't really sure who you were. Was there one particular moment that stands out for you as saying, actually, you know what? Yeah, this is who I am. This is what I want. This is what I know I need to do. And is there anything that sort of led up to that point? I appreciate it can be a tricky question because, if it's a process over years, it could just be step by step by step. But I'm just interested if there is anything that stands out for you.
I do. I can actually, and you just helping me kind of walk through that. So yes, I've gone through so many different transitions as I'm trying to figure out, and I don't even think I knew back then that okay, I need to discover who I am and reconnect with myself because you're just in it, like you are in the mud, and you're just trying to, go like one foot after the other. Mind you, I have children that I need to be a certain way for and to provide and do all these different things. But I do know the moment was when I was dating someone and they just was there, like it's almost like a veil lifted, and it's like, wait a second, this person is not adding value to my life or my children's life. And that was the moment because also, Philip, just to back up, I went from my family's home moving over here. Then I had a boyfriend, long-term boyfriend in the when I was in high school. And then after that, I met my ex-husband at 19. So I never had an opportunity to even get to know who the heck I am. So when that happened, I was like, you know what? I don't care what I need to do. No matter how lonely I feel because of the codependency that I needed somebody there, and I'm not in the right frame of mind, so I'm attracting where I'm at. Obviously, again, unknowingly, because hindsight's 2020. So the moment was that. The moment was that when I said, this person is not serving me or like my children, because anyone that I bring around, I'm very discerning. But so when I realized that, I was like, nope. And that was the moment I would like to call the glow up. The glow up started then, and I ended the relationship. I was single for a very long time. I got to know me. I ended up enjoying my own company, whereas before I had all these distractions. Let me go out, let me do this, let me do that, because I could not be with myself. I couldn't be with myself. I was, for whatever reason, loneliness or not wanting to face it. I just needed like a filter. But that was the time I truly just honestly leveled up my life and my children's life in quantum leap ways when you turn in. It's phenomenal.
Spending the time by ourselves, an interesting one. It's something that I have always done. I've generally enjoyed my own company. So I'm interested to hear from you. Is there a process that you go through with that? Is it meditation? Is it just being in a space that you feel comfortable? Because and the reason I'm asking this question is anybody who's listening or watching, it's like, okay, I can resonate exactly with everything that Cheryl's saying. And, I've been in a situation where I've not really known myself, but I'm now in a position where I have decided, or I know I need to make some changes. And part of that may be about rediscovering myself for that sort of, I guess, and it's not solitude and loneliness, because a lot of people get that confused. It's solitude for looking at yourself and spending time and feeling comfortable with yourself.
100%.
Is there a process that you go through? Is there a way that you do that? Is there something that as an activity that you turn to and just do with yourself to say, okay, yeah, this is time for me. It enables me to reflect and think about life. It enables me to look internally. I'm just interested to hear your perspective on that.
That is, again, very good question, Philip. That's why I binged on your material. So again, hindsight's 2020. I was just doing things that made me feel good at the time. And through doing the things that made me feel good, like going to the spa, treating myself, self-care, working out, riding my bike in nature, and listening to music, those were the things that I didn't realize started to build up and build up and build up to liking being with me. And, so it was a gradual process. And now I know, gosh, we have so many different versions of ourselves. And if you had told me back then, when I didn't know myself, even when I was in a relationship, I thought I knew myself, like, oh, I'm confident, I'm this, I'm that. I had no clue. I had to be completely stripped down, completely hit rock bottom. I gained 28 pounds in 8 months because I was overeating the samples at a grocery store. That's a funny story. I could talk about that now, but like it's when when you overly sample, that's probably like stealing, Philip. Okay. I mean, I have these funny stories now, like when the time I took a piece of bread and oh my God, I didn't trust myself to bring it home. So I put the loaf of bread back. I'm so sorry to whoever picked up that loaf of bread at that grocery store, because there's a missing piece. It's because I was going through such a crazy time, gaining weight, like feeling ashamed because of that. And I know we're going off on a tangent, but it's just there's so many different things. And to finally be able to like your own company, unfortunately, I didn't have that, that luxury. Like, it is a luxury to like your own company. I do know a lot of people that can't handle being by themselves. And so it's really nice. And I think for the listeners out there, if they're resonating with this, is that you have to start to figure out what lights you up on fire. And I'm not saying, like skydive or whatever, like the little things like self-care, or, you like to spend time in nature, or you really have a friend that you guys can, like, time just goes by so fast. Like, whatever makes you feel good and you feel like you are in resonance with, and your body is in homeostasis and you're calm, that's what you need to do more of. And then it builds from there. And then you'll find more things and it just opens up. Because when you take 2 steps forward, the universe, God, source, whatever you want, is going to take 10 steps towards you. So that's why I tell people to build from there.
I love that, because I just echo your comments and thoughts there. For me, one of the things that I love doing is, I found, I write about it in the book, going to a coffee shop, making notes. Okay, sometimes I have a piece of cake as well because I have a sweet tooth and I really enjoy that.
Oh.
But it's like, it's a different space for me. There's people around, but I'm still just me focusing on what it is that I'm doing. So I have some different stimuli of the people. I'd normally put some headphones on and listen to music, so I don't have the audio side. But again, that's something that makes me feel good, because it means I'm getting out from my normal environment. I'm working on something that's important to me. So most of my book was written chapter by chapter, going and sitting in different coffee shops and just having that time and that space to myself to focus on, okay, what is the stuff that I want to put on a page? So I love that comment that you've just made. So taking a slightly different direction, something else I want to touch on. You now are helping divorced women, again, go through what it is that they're experiencing. is there a process that you take people through? I'm just interested to understand that in more detail, of whether it's like, okay, yeah, there's 5 steps, 6 steps, 10 steps, this is how we, think about things. Or just, again, for anybody who's listening or watching to say, okay, right, I understand, Cheryl's got a process. Great. Maybe she's someone I should go and talk to because I'm experiencing this, or I know someone who is going through this situation. So help me understand that process that you take people through.
Absolutely. So even on my discovery page where you can book, I have an application because I have to assess your readiness. I just created a post today about the fact that, when I wrote an article and it's called 4 tips to biohacking your best life after divorce. And I got so many responses from that saying, okay, it's great and all, but truly what's the first step? And the first step is you have to make a decision that this is what you want, no matter what, at all costs, no matter what, you're ready. Okay. So first things first, I have to assess their readiness. The second part is that I also need to know where they're at in their journey. Are they, I mean, it kind of ties back to that, but if they're so sick and tired of feeling stuck and lost, repeating the same pattern, they might have been divorced like for 5 years, but their life has not moved. And they're, just dating the same people, repeating the same pattern. That's how we get started. Yes, that's how I assess their readiness is, they need to be ready. They need to make a decision that no matter what is going to happen, um, they're going to start to change because they're sick and tired of feeling stuck. They're sick and tired of not even knowing who they are. They feel so disconnected from themselves and source, universe, angels, whatever that bigger thing is bigger than themselves. And they're ready for change. They're ready to put in the work because, guys, you have to put in the work. Waiting and thinking and manifesting, that sounds all great. And a lot of people get it wrong. Unfortunately, there is work on their part and they have to take those actionable steps. So I hope that answers your question, Philip.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Again, it's always useful to hear how other people are supporting their audience, the community, the tribe that they've felt called to support. The journey that you've been on, you're now obviously, I mentioned it, you're helping people and supporting them. That means you've moved into the realm of being an entrepreneur. What's one of the biggest challenges that you've faced as you've been setting up and sort of growing your business and your, I guess, your brands, your identity of being an entrepreneur or a coach?
Um, to be perfectly honest, it's not even, how they say the solopreneur because you're the one doing everything. I'm used to working hard. I mean, that's how I built myself from, the ground up. Just even running away when I was 18, I had to figure it out and pay rent, and because I did not give myself an option to turn back. So to be honest, like the workload is not even what was challenging for me. What was challenging for me is actually being vulnerable and stepping out, and not in a way that, I didn't want to share my story. Of course I did, because I knew it was going to help someone. It was just the mindset of, okay, you came from corporate America and you've been there for, 25 years. How in the world are you going to set up a business in the healing arts and the wellness? So it's that mindset shift that I had to really stretch myself, and it's so hard to overcome. But I knew there. I don't care what it takes. I'm getting it done. So, mission of shifting the mindset, and at the same time, too, the biggest challenge for me has been to get out there and make videos. Gosh, I researched it thanks to YouTube. I studied it, and like finally what really shifted my mindset is that my intuition said, Cheryl, the person that you were cannot take you to where you want to go. It cannot take you to the kind of impact that you want to make if you continue to play small and you hide. So you have to embody that version of you that is going to take you there, that is going to affect the kind of change that you want. And so I've been pushing myself, Philip, forcing myself to do these videos. And truly, it's true what I learned, that practice, you just feel more comfortable, but it sucks in the beginning. It's like the weights don't get lighter, you get stronger. That is the truth. So that was my biggest challenge. And I say was because I am embodying that person more and more every single time I video myself and I put out, valuable content.
I love that. Yes. Like anything, taking those small steps, improving as we go, and just having that commitment to say, I know I'm going to suck to start with. It's like anything. It's like, riding a bike, learning a new skill. It's always a case of those first initial steps. They're hard, they're tough, they will be horrible. And then it's just, going through it. So great to hear that you've worked through that. You're now starting to feel more comfortable, working on the visibility as well. Again, the world we live in now, that is a key part of it. So
yes, absolutely.
taking that into consideration, do you have any tips or suggestions that you would give to people who are listening to this? And I frame this in the way of, they're feeling stuck at the minute. They may say, you know what, yes, I want to try and create something myself, or I want to move away from our current situation. Obviously, I appreciate these can be two slightly different things, but just based on your experience of the relationship stuff, your identity, now being an entrepreneur and supporting others, whether there are a couple of things that stand out for you to say, you know what, yeah, these are 2 or 3 things that you should really think about if you're wanting to make changes in your life.
Well, yes, I definitely, my biggest focus is empowering women. And of course, yes, men too, but my focus is the women. So empowering them in such a way that when I'm working with clients, I help them see the truth of who they really are. And I remind them of even just, like a simple exercise, like write down all the wins that you've ever had in your life, whether it's, pushing through that time when you didn't want to go to the gym, but you did. Um, you got to raise that work, or you got celebrated in some way or another. It's these small wins that we don't think about. It adds up when you put it down on paper and you read it to yourself and you're like, you know what, that's actually, yeah, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good with myself. So it really, it's interrupting all of the different programs that we are, we're living in this world. And so it's from what you're hearing on the radio, God forbid the social media. When I was going through like my body dysmorphia, Philip, I had to unfollow all of these like fitness accounts that I thought, ooh, I want to look like that. But no, it was just, I was falling into comparison. So I went the, I went the drastic way. I just deleted social media for a long time. And when I say a long time, I want to say about 8 years. As soon as I got a divorce, and the only time I emerged again was because, I answered my calling. And so I know I had to be out there. And then the other thing too, and this is in my free mindset shift workbook about self-worth, is seeing yourself through the eyes of someone that truly loves you. It cannot be from your set of eyes, because at this moment in time, if they're going through, like feeling stuck and feeling low, not knowing who they are, you're not going to be very nice to yourself. You're not going to say, the nice things that we should be saying to ourselves as if we were our own best friends. So we have to start somewhere small. And that is just figuring out who that person is. It could even be a pet, and put yourself in their position. And you want to do this in a quiet place, almost like a meditative space, and have that person kind of talk to you, and just see yourself through their loving eyes, and take note as you're sitting in it and being present. Take note of the things that's coming up. That's wonderful. And when you're done, after maybe about, I don't know, however long you can sit there, 5, 10 minutes, write those things down. And I found so many people having a cathartic experience, just crying their eyes out because they never saw themselves in that light at all. So it's a really powerful exercise, simple yet very powerful. Those are some things that they can start with. Oh, and one last thing, Philip. Also, when your body is uncomfortable and it's, and you feel like, okay, I'm not supposed to be here because I'm not feeling comfortable, but yet your mind is telling you, oh, you know what, like you can stay here, give them a chance. Or not necessarily romantic relationships, but just business, any relationship, that means you're not supposed to be there. So they need to start to become very aware of their body, and how that other person is showing up for them, and watch and pay attention to the other person's behavior, because oftentimes we just want to inject how we feel, what we're trying to make sense of the situation, trying to work it out. If you're a pleaser, if if you don't want to be lonely, you want to do everything you can to preserve that relationship, but really it's so toxic. So just begin by acknowledging the fact that your body is telling you you're not supposed to be in this situation, whatever that may be, and honor it and start taking action to remove yourself from that. And then at some point in time, when you've built enough courage and like muscle in that area, well, then you could just nope, the boundaries, it builds from there.